Welcome back to the channel. I decided to revisit this snowblower. I had thrown it on the truck. I started it up the next morning and it just took forever to actually warm up. So I was playing with that choke for about 5 minutes till it cleared out. I want to pull the carburetor off, check it out, clean it up. Alright, now I'm not sure exactly how this comes apart, but I want to get this cover off. It wraps around over there. I know I can pull this. That's the key, if you will. Can't get this guy to pull off, so I'm hoping it engages as it goes on. I'm going to loosen up these two bolts and these two bolts. So that one's interesting. Over here on this side, that cover comes underneath this starter, so I'm going to go ahead and remove this now. Now that guy's free. Oh, we've got one more bolt up there that I missed. This guy is going to be a problem, it looks like. There is a linkage right down there. I'm going to try to get out of the carburetor so I can take it with that cover. Being that the one bolt came out, I can twist the carburetor slightly and possibly get that angle I need. That's a big no-go. So I just popped the throttle up out. Hopefully I can twist it more and get this choke lever now. Golly, I wish I could just get this cover off. There we go. Now let's see how this works. Now we've got some wires and one tube to the primer. So we'll unhook this primer tube right there. Fish that guy out. Looks like these are in our way too. Might as well just pull those. And we'll disconnect these two wires to the switch. Now, we can get this off and remove it from the linkage. I'll now pop this one up and out. And I'll leave it in here so I don't forget how it goes together. Here is the throttle linkage that I popped off a little bit before. We've also got this spring. And we'll disconnect this. And our fuel line. Pinch off the line is just take a pair of needle nose vice grips with a rag and compress the line. There's a quick clamp right here. Just loosen that, squeeze it together, and move it off of the barb here. Get that back. Now we can remove our line. It may be stuck. If it is, I suggest a pair of channel locks. Just lightly grip it and give it a twist until it moves. And then it should pull right off. Or it might fight you. Let's tear into this carburetor. I got the carburetor in my vise, and I'm going to break this bowl loose. I'm assuming that is a drain right there. This should be the bolt that holds the bowl on. Pulls up and out. And you can see we're a little dirty in there. It's really not horrible. Now we'll pull this pin so we can remove the float and the needle. And my biggest interest now is looking at the main jet. So the main jet is down in the center of this right here. So the bolt went down in there and we got the main jet in the bottom. Make sure you don't damage your threads. Use a properly sized screwdriver. And there's the main jet. So I want to look through all these passages and make sure they're nice and clean. what I do for that is I hold it up to the light. Don't know if you will be able to see it or not, but I will try to put it through here. I'm sure it's going to mess with the camera. So I suggest just holding it up towards a light and looking to see if it looks like it's blocked. All the passages are nice and clear. So it could just be the remainder of the lousy gas that was giving us issues here. But we'll continue to go through it and check any other passages that we've got. Overall, it really doesn't look too bad. But seeing how I've got it out, I'm going to go ahead and put in the ultrasonic cleaner real quick. Give it a run through that, and we'll put it back together. So I'm just going to take the carburetor, the bowl, and the jets, pop them in here, set it for 480 seconds. I don't know what it is, 6 minutes, 8 minutes. Not doing the math. And let it go. You can already see all the stuff that it's getting off of that. Now I'll blow the carburetor out. Now we'll reassemble the carburetor starting with the jets. So we've got to drop this guy down in there, that one, and then tighten it down. Just snug is fine. We'll put our float back in. The needle goes right down into this seat here. Put our pin back through the float. Bowl back on the carburetor. And finally our bolt back in the bowl. Make sure your gasket hasn't moved and that is seated well. We're still good. And snug that guy down too. Now we'll reinstall the carb. Taking the nut off that one stud that it was stuck on. And I'm going to put it through the gasket here. And then we can slide our carburetor on. At this point, seeing how I've got the room, I'm going to put the spring and the linkage back on. And now I'll hook our fuel line back up. Make sure you don't forget to put your clamp back in place. Okay, when I picked this up, that fell out, so my whole strategy has been wasted. So before you slide it on there, hook it through your choke, and then slide this plate onto our studs. Now we can put the cover back on and hook up this primer and these wires. Now we'll take this plate, this housing here, our wires were routed underneath that and around this, and this primer line was also under that. Got it in place. These bolts were slightly longer than the other bolts that we've taken out of here, so they were easy to remember. Slide the covers on the studs. Oh no! That pushed a bushing out of that right here. So we'll just get that back in. Add our nuts back on here. Now we can push our choke back on. Add the bolts to this cover. There's the two out here. And the one that I missed at the beginning. So this throttle lever is sitting a little high here. I'm going to pull it down, slide that on, And now we just need our key. Almost. Lastly, I'll put this plug back on for the starter. So I do not like the way that it is running still. There's one more thing we can check. I didn't really care for the spark that we had. I would have liked it to be a little bit bluer. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up the coil against the flywheel. I can see right away that the gap is bad here. You can see down this bottom, we've got a larger gap than we have up top. Should be about a business card. First thing I'm going to actually do though is just completely remove the coil so I can see if it's rusted on the bottom of it. It's actually nice and clean, nice and shiny. If that's rusted, you want to clean that up with some sandpaper. You'll see these are slotted so you can adjust it. Now I'll put the bolts back in. I'm going to snug them and then back them off so I'm able to slide it. Now I'll grab a business card, slide this in here, apply some pressure to it, and then tighten the bolts. Now we can remove the card. The gap is much more uniform now. Now we'll reassemble and try again. Ran out of batteries. Finished putting this back together. Let's see how it runs now. Pretty good. What I did with that screwdriver was just turn the stopper in for the throttle a little bit. This video was produced by Hercules. Thanks for watching. Come again.